Hey everybody, it's Voss here. Today, I just want to tell and go into a deep deck profile of the new meta deck, Fire King's Snake Eyes. Now, this is an up and coming meta threat. It's pretty powerful. It is, if not the best deck in the format, maybe second to Labyrinth in some matchups and in some hands. But today, we're going to go through card by card, kind of really trying to figure out why we play this card, kind of go into the actual meat and potatoes about it and not just say, huh, I should play this card because it's good and spoon feed the information to you. I want to go through on why this is such the best, like why this is the best deck and like why people are playing it. And first off, this is the Diabell Star version. I will also have budget options later in the video. But first off, we're going to start off with our non-engine. Our non-engine is going to be basically just generic, like the most generic stuff. This is a borderline, I guess you would call it general coverage, I guess. We just play 3 Ash and 3 Imperm. Ash can come up because it's another fire for one, and also we can link it off into Almirage, wherever that is. Yeah, Almirage is right here. We can link it off with Almirage. We can use it for Ash's effects, or we can also destroy it off of Island, but we don't need to if we don't have any other fires in hand, right? And at worst, she is also a send off of Diabell Star. Um, Yet again, that's not really the intended use, but there are hands where you could sometimes draw maybe 2 Ash Blossom or 2 of a card, and maybe you don't want to, you know, maybe there is no other fire to destroy. Ash Blossom is that one for you. Um, and so our main non-engine is just supposed to cover the basis of what the format entails and what it needs. Ash is just super generic, and Imperm is super generic. Uh, when you get to the side, we can actually go through everything. Um, we play one Kurikara because it's searchable off of Snake Eye Ash because it can search any level 1 fire monster. The reason why that is because she has a basically Nibiru-esque effect, but it can break boards really, really strong and really, really hard. So if there is, let's just say, a bajillion negates, or you're in the mirror, right? And it's just whenever they've activated their effects, let's say the Xyz, and you can't really destroy the Xyz, you just tribute it off. The Xyz in question is Grunix Eternity, which on summon is a dark hole for both players. And it allows you to tribute it off, not triggering the destruction effect of the Xyz to Reborn till. But it also just gets rid of most boards in general. If they play a lot of special summon monsters, aka if people are trying to play Kashtira or really any other deck that's like special summoned on field effects. And we just play Call By because it's a one of. And me personally, I love to sack my opponents, and I will forever draw the common Called By that I've gotten in one of my structure decks for like the past 5 years. And I will guarantee always draw it because I simply want it more. Now, onto the Wanted engine before we go to the actual Fire King stuff. The Wanted engine, it doesn't necessarily matter how you play it per se, or like what your ratios are, because they all read like Chaos Base. Chaos Base is essentially just such a super generic search card. It essentially allows you to get any light or dark monster that is 4 to 8, and it can also banish it and put back one of your banished um, uh, banished monsters and add it back to or put it on the bottom of the deck, and then you can draw a card. It's essentially just like replacing and keeping recursion in the deck. There's a reason why it's at 1. It's super broken, but the entire deck or the entire Diabell Star engine is essentially Chaos Base on steroids. And what's even worse is that they're all different cards. And essentially, the reason why it's so good is because you can draw any one of these, maybe minus the normal spell, and it can get you to any other part of the engine. That's how just generically consistent it is. And so the DBL Star engine, it doesn't matter how much you play of it, how little of you play of it, you will still be performing at a higher level in Fire Kings if you have at least some of the cards. If you can't afford the quick play, you can play 3D Bellstar and just one Snake Eye original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye, or you can run 3 and 2. It essentially fills the same bubble of the engine as a whole, but in my testing and what I've done, I feel like the best way for you to really have like any amount of progress or uh like consistency power in this engine is you run 2 to 3 Black Witch, 3 quick play, 1 normal spell. Depending on the deck, you can run 2. If you're running pure Snake Eye, I would highly recommend 2 or 3. Um, and pure Snake Eye is also very fun. It's one of my friend's decks, and he is a god with it. But on the other point, about this engine is that it works very, very well with the Fire King stuff because you can get to any part of in any part of your combo, you can get to the original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye if you draw into the Diabell Star engine, right? Even Populous, even if you draw it, right? You can still normal summon it, add the Snake Eye original Sinful Spoil spell, right? You can activate it, summon Ash, or you can summon Ponix because it's a level 1 fire. It does not require it to be a pyro, just a level 1 fire. And so that's what's so broken about it. Uh, every single card in this engine can get you to any other card, essentially. And that becomes even more apparent with Bonfire. Bonfire is essentially reinforcement of the army for pyros, and reinforcement of the army literally just says add any level 4 or lower warrior monster to your deck to your hand. And that card's at 1 because it's really good for the time that it was released in, because warrior decks were really good at the time. Bonfire is in a scenario where if it was released 10 years ago, it wouldn't have had as much of an impact because pyros weren't good. Pyros have just recently got so much support, and the Snake Eyes support and Volcanic support, and so many other fire decks that are currently out in the format. Bonfire essentially just says, okay, you get this for max consistency. Any pyro deck that you want to play has max consistency. It's absolutely insane. So essentially, what you can do is, let's say you see Snake Eye Ash, right? You normal summon Snake Eye Ash, and you can either add Populous or Onyx or Kurikara. You have 3 targets in the deck. It's actually insane. But what makes this even better is the fact that, okay, well, let's say I'm going second and I want to maximize my stuff. Let's say I already have Ponix in hand. Let's say I already have Kurikara in hand. I normal summon Ash and I go, okay, effect. They have no idea that you've seen Kurikara, right? They have no idea that you have anything else in your hand. So then you go, effects. You can add 3 targets. They don't know what you're going to add because they obviously don't know what your hand is. And it can be the Populous, the new card, which essentially just is another free body, which is special summon, right? Um, and you can choose not to activate any effect on summons besides the Ash. So if they let it go through, you can just summon the Populous. You activate no effects. Uh, yes, they have a chance to respond to the effect, sure, of the summoning. You just link off of the Link Kribo, you go into a Link 2, you go into SP, and then you are you basically are winning the game at that point because of how oppressive it is. And that's just a one-off scenario, right? This deck has so many hands that it likes, um, rarely any hands that it dislikes, because it's uber consistent. And so now, from going through the Diabell Star engine, which has really good synergy with this, we're going to go to the Fire King aspect, right? The Fire Kings, they have a like 8 custom cards, essentially. We have Fire King Island, which reads like a custom card. You can special summon a fired winged beast monster. If you control no monsters, you can do that. You can basically summon this guy for free without having to destroy something, which can trigger his on summon effect. Or you can summon Ponix from hand, right? If you don't want to destroy anything or just lose to Ash that plays around Ash, you cannot Ash the Sacred Fire King Groonings because it destroys from deck. It doesn't send from deck. It's completely different. You can't Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, Sacred Fire Garunix. Now, this is essentially your main searcher in the deck, right? It can get you to any Fire King card, or any Fire King monster, rather. Barong on your opponent's standby can get you to any Fire King card, is what I meant to say. But regardless, Fire King Island is your main monster searcher, and Sanctuary is essentially terraforming, or a way to get to that field spell without adding it. You basically just get to place it from your deck, and it's just on the field. And then Fire King Sanctuary is also like one of your main interruptions. It allows you to quick effect Xyz, or on your opponent's turn, Xyz summon into the Garunix Eternity of the Fire Kings. He on summon, like I said earlier in the video, is a dark hole for everything. Um, Obviously, for you, it doesn't hurt as much because all your stuff recurs on destruction. This deck loves to destroy things, and it profits on it. When this deck didn't have all this broken support, and some of the older Fire King monsters, there was something called a Fire King's standby clock. And what the standby clock is for this deck is all your stuff really happens in the standby phase for your recursion. And even back in the day when this deck had like just came out and didn't have all this broken support, like the quick play, the continuous, Ponix, for example, all the retrains, it essentially would constantly try to win in the standby phase and could set itself up to win in that standby phase, being your opponent's or your own, and just clear house and win games from there. And so all the level fours that we play, which is Arvada and Barong, we play 3 Arvada because it's just a monster negate on fields, and Barong is our main searcher in our opponent's standby phase. Arvada has the effect on destruction to reborn another Fire King monster from your graveyard, but it just can't be Arvada, right? It has to be anything else but Arvada. So you can summon back Barong, you can summon back Kieran, you can summon back Ponix, or you can summon back Garunix, but their effects will be negated and you destroy them during the end phase. Now, there is a little sneaky things that you can do, right? You don't have the most powerful board, right? And so let's just say you already have Kieran in hand and you couldn't destroy or get Kieran's destruction effect. So we know that Arvada is a reborn and a monster negate while he's on field. And then we also know that Barong can summon himself if a Fire King monster is destroyed by card effects, and is also one of our main search pieces throughout the combo. But we also know that Kieran, right? It is a way to, during the main phase, if it's in our hand, to quick effect summon itself by destroying another fire monster in your hand or face up field. Now, what's so great about this is that this deck has a built in way to prevent cards like Infinite Impermanence, Effect Veiler, Ghost Mourner, and Moonlit Chill. Stuff that has targeted effects, even effects like such as SP Little Knight, is really broken because Kieran doesn't target. Uh, you can essentially, if there's a targeting effect, even if this card targeted, um, you can just chain it in response to an infinite impermanence and still get a search. So let's say you normal summon Ponix, they go imperm. Then you say, okay, that's fine. I'm going to chain Kieran to stop that from targeting so it doesn't negate, and you still get your search for Sanctuary or Skyburn. And so Kieran also has a similar effect to Arvada, but it's better. Arvada targets in grave, Kieran does not. And what's better about Kieran is that it can summon from grave or from hand. And it can be either. And also on resolution, it destroys a card. And it doesn't have to be your card, it can be your opponent's. And what's really good about it is the fact that what you could do, and it's a cute little scenario, you can go Arvada effect to negate something, and you destroy Kieran. Let's say you don't have any other targets for Kieran. Let's say you drew badly, and let's say it was literally just normal summon Arvada, set Skyburn, and maybe like set an Imperm, right? That's still 4 interactions with so much follow up. And what's really great about this is that Arvada, you can negate with it, you destroy Kieran, then you activate Skyburn, you pop another card, then you reborn Kieran. And you reborn Kieran off of Arvada effect, and Arvada will destroy Kieran in the end phase. And then you could do Kieran effect, because now since you actually have a target in graveyard, or a Fire King monster in graveyard rather, to reborn, you can reborn him and then destroy another card on the field. So not only do you get a monster negate, a potential pop, and then another pop of a Kieran, it is super uber consistent. Even with the worst hands, you can still do so much more. Um, Ponix is our main, I guess you could say main normal summon. He's really only there to just get us our continuous spell, only because our continuous spell does everything. You see a lot of like 2 of ratios with these guys for the field spell, the continuous, and Ponix. It's because, yes, it's super consistent, but you obviously don't want to go for max consistency. You also want like some sort of non-engine to combat things. Um, then you also have our secondary target search. So let's say we already have both sanctuaries or whatever. Uh, we can just get Skyburn, which is basically Sword Soul Blackout, but on steroids. Sword Soul Blackout is basically you just target 1 card you control and then 2 cards your opponent controls. Or target 1 War Monster, rather. And then you destroy 2 cards your opponent controls. This one is just to up to the number and destroy both, which is really good. And then just to round off the main deck, we have Pot of Prosperity. Just another way to dig through the deck more, and kind of just profit off of the fact that we have so much consistency that if we go Prosperity, it could be even Ash Blossom or Imperm is viable to pick up off, because we already have the entire combo elsewhere, right? So it's just stuff like that. This deck has the power to literally add a hand trap off of Prosperity and not an engine piece, because of how consistent it is. And Garunix destroys from deck. He's our main guy that we're trying to really funnel through. We only played 2 of them. Trust me, if people could play 1 of them and get away with it, we would. But 2 is the bare minimum that we can really allow in the deck without constantly drawing it. If you're playing pure, 3 all the way, but since this deck has so much consistency already and so much power already, it's perfectly fine at 2. And honestly, I couldn't disagree on why you would want to play more or less of it. And another thing about this whole deck is that even though it's super expensive, if you go to like the price, I'm sure I'll put it up somewhere through editing. But um, this right here is just like, I think the Diabell Star engine alone is so much more than the Fire King structure deck, right? And that's okay. There's plenty of budget options. You can even play this deck pure and see results very, very well. You do not have to like shell out all the money for the Diabell Star engine, and you don't have to play the best of the best version, even though it's uber consistent. I will show you after this why it may not matter as much, because of the build that I have that I play in paper. And so we're going to go to the extract now. We have an access code line. Our access code line, I just want to go ahead and get that out of the way because it's very easy to explain. You play Hida and Dark only because you have Link 1 Dark monsters that you can go into. Maybe an SP doesn't come up anymore. Maybe you just need to link it off. You can just link it off for Dark, and you steal their opponent Diabell Star or SP. Then you go into Celine, and then Celine can reborn, let's just say, like your own Diabell Star, and then you can go in access code and just go there for game. Even though this deck already OTKs on its own, it's still just nice to have a way to get to a kill button because of just how uber consistent and generic it is. And so now we're gonna go to our like slight interruptions, and then we'll go to our consistency pieces. So our interruptions that are not the main engine is Princess, SP Little Knight, and Amblo. Amblo is usually what we're gonna end on. Because it's just, if they destroy it or if we destroy it, more likely we can just summon back Princess Um, and we can use her effect on our opponent's turn. Because how this will work is, let's just say we link everything off, right, with Gurunix and all the other materials in hand, but we destroy Barong to then search for another Kieran, and then we have this on field. That gets us, I believe, before we even go into the XZs, it gets us an additional 2 generic pops, as well as Princess can just reborn something on our main phase, and then uh, I think, yeah, yeah. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field while this card is in the graveyard, you could just target a fire monster you control, and one monster your opponent controls destroy him. Which is super inherently broken. Like, it's so broken because this is how it would work, right? Let's just say we're our opponent's playing it out, right? We're just having a grand old time, I guess. And our end board is literally Ambo Whale, with Kieran in hand, and Ponix and 2 other cards that don't matter, right? Uh, Essentially, what's going to happen is they special summon something, we destroy Ambler Whale um, off of Princess effects, and then what we can do is uh, then Garunix, if it's engraved, can trigger because a fire monster was destroyed. Then we summon back Princess uh, off of the Ambler Whale effect. Um, and then, you know, Ambler Whale also has the effects to where if a Link 3 or lower monster is destroyed by battle by card effects, doesn't mean your opponent, which we can just Kieran destroy. It also has a similar effect. So it's just super broken because before we even get to the XZs, they have to play through 4 pops. That's not even including the quick play that we could have searched. So it's so broken, that combo, because it's basically unplayable if you don't have Graveyard Hate main decks, which most people don't because there's really hard like ways to fit that in. And so those are our main interruptions that we're going to end on. SP doesn't matter as much in this deck as Rescue Ace did, but you do have to go into it sometimes, and it is a way to play around Nibiru sometimes because they go Nibiru effect, you have SP up, it's a way to play around it so that they can't summon Nibiru because there's no monsters to tribute, essentially. Um, and it does come up sometimes. Maybe you just want like an imperm dodger or something like that. That does happen, and that can happen. So SP is just something that we need to have there kind of always. And then we also have Relinquish Anima. We play a bunch of level 1s. Let's just go ahead and normal summon a level 1, and they played into an Anima Zone. Let's just take that. We play Almirage, not only because sometimes we want certain monsters to be destroyed and some monsters should not be destroyed. It's also just a Link 1 fire. Let's just say we have like a really bad hand, uh, and let's say it was like really Ponix dependent, but we have a Garunix in hand. What we can do is blink off Ponix for Almirage, attack into it, and then we can go effect of um, Garunix in hand to then summon itself, or we can just go Ponix speed into it. It doesn't necessarily matter, but it can depend sometimes. Maybe sometimes you just need Almirage Engrave. I'll show why more in the budget version of the deck that I have made. Then we play Link Rebo because Link Rebo is just another Link 1, level 1, because Link 1s are broken. And it's also a cute little Imperm Dodger because if this card is in the graveyard, well, we have a level 1 on field, and most of our level 1s are just searchers, we can go Link Rebo effect engrave, tribute it, and then summon one out, or summon Link Rebo out, and then we can still get the search. It's actually just very broken. And then Sunlight Wolf, honestly, it's just there because we can add any fire back. And also, if they play into the zones, we can just add back another monster from grave. It's really broken inherently. And then we have our kill button line, and then we only play 1 Xyz. I see people try to play 2. You will find out that you really only need 1 Xyz because if you're going so long to the point where you need 2, uh, you aren't really trying to find the most optimal and optimized lines of play. And if you can beat If you can beat them with 2, you can easily beat them with 1, right? Because a well-timed dark hole on your opponent's turn could just really ruin the game for them and profit you a ton. But if you're playing 2, you're choosing points where they're not as, how do I say it? Uh, efficient and effective. They Typhone because it's a broken card. Just normal summon something. They ash it, they stop it, and if it's still on field, you just slap down a Typhone, and you're just like, all right, buddy, enjoy, play with that. And then we play Dingirsu. Dingirsu because it's just another card that we can summon. Another level 8. You can, in theory, debate on putting in a second Xyz. You can, but Ding is really there for just like summoning and sending the field spell, which they can't protect in the mirror match, and then they just destroy everything, and they can't protect it unless they have exactly Skyburn and Grave already, which if they decide to rush that, they can. It doesn't really matter. It's also 1 effect per turn, so it does matter. And then onto the side deck. This is the side deck that I really like for this deck. It has some generic board breakers. Thank you, Pankratops, for coming back to 2. He just left customs because Konami, man, I don't know why you print a card like Fenrir, but you can't keep Pankratops around. Kind of crazy. But anyways, I just love Pankratops as a card, but I'm glad that he's at 2, which he's at 3, and I would play 7 of them because I do not care. Droll and Lockbird, just because we're only running 6 non-engine in the main, 7 if you're technically counting called by, and so it's a Droll format. The reason why it's a Droll format is because of decks like this. It's uber consistent, but lives and dies by Droll. Same thing with Vanadium. Same thing with uh, Tier and other decks at the moment. The only deck that doesn't really lose to Droll as hard is um, Labyrinth, and that is the only deck that, if they're playing Magic Deflector, will literally kill your deck. And what Magic Deflector does, literally just shuts off the our deck completely. Magic Deflector says for the rest of the turn, it essentially reads Imperial Order, but for every other spell except normal spell cards. So it's great. It's just amazing. And so if we go continuous and then we place, they'll even wait too. We place down the Fire King Islands, and then just negate everything, and so we can't even do anything afterwards. Uh, it's wonderful. So we try not to play into that. But yet again, it literally reads like Imperial Order, and Imperial Order is banned for a reason. This card should also be banned, but it is the one thing, if the Labyrinth player knows what they're doing, that checks this deck out to the ground, especially with all the new support. Nibiru, we're only playing 2 of it because not a lot of people are playing into Nibiru anymore. You sometimes still need it, but it's really just like as a 2 of. It's cute. It really only like is matter depending on the deck that you come up with. Cosmic Cyclone for the mirror match, and also because it's just, we need some form of back row hate besides like Lightning Storm and Mass Removal. Harpy's Feather Duster is really good. Really now the only way to deal with certain cards, because field spells are getting into a way to where like they're super hard to out, is something I've noticed. Stuff like really anything that has like destruction in it is kind of hard to deal with in the current format, especially with graveyard stuff. You don't want to destroy all your opponent's labyrinth traps and then they just keep on recurring them. You want them to be banished so they can't banish them for their labyrinth effects for like big welcome and the normal welcome. You just don't want them to have them. Harpy's Feather Duster, we play it because it's a blowout card. We play Sinful Spoils of Subversion, the Snake Eye. Essentially, it is a searchable way to board clear. Think of it as like a third Pankratops in a way. Because Populace can add any Snake Eyes card, or Snake Eyes spell rather, we can get this normal spell, activate it, put something in their spell and trap zone. And honestly, that is very hard for people to get rid of or like deal with, because it doesn't just go away. You could just put it in the spell and trap zone and then just be done with it, right? And so it's super broken. Another thing that is really broken is Summon Limit, which we can dig off of Prosperity. Summon Limit is just good because if we play our cards right, we won't necessarily have to go into a how do I say it? A way to uh, for like our opponent. They have to beat us in 2 summons, and then if they don't have anything in game 3, right? Or game 2. And so we just make the XZs and we wipe everything in 2 summons. It's good, but it's not as good in the mirror. The mirror is one of the most skill intensive things. And there's something I did forget that this deck should have. And it should be Flame Burge. Now we want to keep it at 40 because 40 is such a uh crazy number right now. If you're playing anything more than 40, um it's either you're running cute stuff so that you have your tech cards in there, or your deck really just has like really big engines that need to fill out, but it's still consistent, or you're playing that mid-range golden ratio 40. Um, and the reason why I called it the golden ratio is because for one, it's the minimum. You're always going to be seeing your stuff, and you won't be seeing stuff as bad. And it's okay if we go to 2 Ash and then 1 Populous. I forgot to put in Flame Bridge actually. Flame Bridge reads is a very similar effect to Snake Eyes Subversion, where we can just place a monster from either field or graveyard to the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. And then during our opponent's turn, we can quick effect take that. So let's say we destroyed their SP, but we don't have game, right? What we can do, instead of going to RSP to preserve it, right? We can put it in their spell and trap zone, then steal it on our opponent's turn, right? And then what's even better is that they can't imperm this because they have it in the spell and trap zone. If they have no other cards on the field, if they have it set, yes, it's getting impermed immediately because stealing their SP. And the way that it reads, it doesn't give it back. It essentially becomes your SP. So, side note, a little ruling knowledge. When you steal SP with Dark's effect, it does not become your opponent's when you banish it. It is technically yours now. So whenever you would use the effect, it would go to your banish pile, not your opponent's, and it would come back to your field, not your opponent's. It's a permanent steal. That's why Flameburge is a permanent steal. It is very broken and is very good. Now, what also is good about this card is not only is it a level 8, right? It also can summon 2 level 1 fire monsters back from our graveyard. What do we know? We have like 5 or more level 1 targets, right? So we can get Ash effect, we can get Ponix effect, we can get Populous effect, we can get Great Kara effect. It's all super broken. It's just a very good card, and I thought something was missing, and he is back home. But now, since we've gone through everything, now it's time to go on to the, let's say the cheaper version, or should I wait to do that next video and see how this reception does? Let's actually show off some hands real quick. We'll show off like 2 or 3 hands. Yeah, we'll show off like 2 or 3 hands. You know, why not? Let's just show off a couple hands. I know you just saw a little bit of the goo, but we'll go into a deep profile of how that goes in a sec. But even with this crappy hand, right, it still plays through everything. I just want you to know that. Or not like through everything, like hand trap wise. This literally lives and dies by Ash technically, or even Droll. But essentially, we want to activate Wanted in the draw phase because we want to play around cards like such as Droll. We have the Diabell Star, right? Even in drawing this, the normal spell, it does kind of suck, but that's okay. We go Standby main, go activate effect of Black Witch, fetch Prosperity to the grave. We'll go Black Witch effect, and then they'll impermanent or whatever. If not, that's okay. We are chilling. We're going to set a Wanted. Then we're going to activate the original Snake Eye. Then we're going to send Black Witch. And then we're here. We're going to summon Ash. An Ash effect is going to get us Populous. And then Populous effect. We'll just do this here. Let's go ahead and get the third one out of the deck. You just add that. And essentially now what we're going to do is we're going to go here. We're going to go Prosperity. We're going to go Banish. Let's just go ahead and banish the Kirsu. Banish Hida. And banish Anima. Banish Almirage. Banish Heat Soul. And banish Typhoon for 6. We don't really need to do 6, but we did kind of open up a sucky hand, so we just want to see what we can get. And there you go. That gets us exactly what we needed. And so here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna get the field spell searcher, right? We're gonna put all this in the bottom. That is okay that we can't get the draw effect off of the normal spell or whatever. That's completely fine. Mind you, we have not normaled, which is also good. Good. So we're gonna go Fire King Sanctuary here. Activate the effect. We're going to set from deck a copy of activate island effect. Do this. Then we're going to add Grunix. We're going to go Chaining 1 Grunix, Chaining 2 Populous. Populous is going to set itself because it was sent to the graveyard. Yeah. And then we're going to summon Grunix. Grunix effects. Grunix effect, we can really destroy anything here. It doesn't necessarily matter because of how, let's say, versatile things were in this hand. It's really good. So we're just gonna destroy Barong because of how far along in the combo we got with this, and that's completely fine. And so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go declare this effect. We're gonna send these two, and then we're gonna summon out Flame Burge. And we're gonna go link 2 with these two. I know we're linking off Garunix, but hey, now it's gonna be fine. We're going to link 2 into Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf effects, or my bad, sorry. Flame Bridge effect. Getting a little bit ahead of myself here. We're going to summon back these two from Grave. Then we activate Sunlight Wolf effects. Sunlight Wolf effect is going to get us. What do we want from Grave? Guess we can add back Flame Bridge. And then because we have 3 monsters here, we could go into Princess, we can go to Amber Whale. But the reason why I think we should go into Amber Whale is because we can do this. We go link through here into Princess. We go effects. We can summon back 1 fire monster from our grave. And let's just go ahead and summon back our copy of Ash, right? You know? And then we'll go another link 3 to our little copy of Amber Whale. We're going to set 1. And so here is what's going to happen. This is the perfect scenario that I described. So our opponent's standby is going to come around. So we pass here. We go standby. Standby, Barong will trigger because since we destroyed it, that's completely fine, right? We wanted to destroy him. Even though we didn't get the Ponix, we still got to everything that we needed inherently. So then we add Kieran. And here is what's amazing about this, right? So here's what's going to happen. We're going to essentially sit right here. And we're going to let them just pop off and play. So what's going to happen is they're going to summon. We're going to go Princess effects. We're going to destroy this card. And then we're going to destroy a card on the fields. Then our Garunix will trigger from Grave because a fire monster was destroyed. And then our Amber Whale will trigger. So we're going to summon back Princess and this guy. And we're going to get this. So mind you, we're already on 2 pops right now. And what we can do here is we can go for a 3rd pop. Even more broken. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go destroy Kieran. And then we're going to go Kieran effect, the back Barong destroy something else on the field. Then we're gonna go Karen effect, destroying this, and then Ambler Whale trigger. And we can do this. We can destroy Princess, and the Amber Whale will banish itself to then destroy another card on the field. And then if they special summon one more time, we just go into the Xyz. We wipe out everything. And we also get a search with Barong. And we have Sinful Spoils still. And we can just add that back during the end phase. Or we can do something a little cute here. So we have Infirm, we have all the works. So let's just do this. We'll go ahead and add back our Black Witch from Grave. It's completely fine. And we'll pass with just one monster on the field. Or the opponent will pass essentially because we Darkhold them and pop them for 5. And so then we go ahead and draw for turn. Look at that, it's Garunix. Shocker. And then we'll go Diabellstar effects. We'll send Flamebridge. We'll summon this out. Then we have 2 triggers here. We'll go. I believe I actually don't have a target anymore because I searched everything. So we'll just go this effect right here of Flamebridge. Because it can be sent from hand or fields, we can just go ahead and summon these 2 out. And then we can go Link 1 into Link Rebo. And can we go Link 2 into Dark. Then we can steal an opponent's monster. Then we can go Link 3 into Celine. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Even more on our opponent's side of the field, right? And so then we can go ahead and just reborn back our guy. I forgot Barong Search, but at this point, I guess it would be Ponix. Or it could be Skyburn. It doesn't necessarily matter. But essentially, it's just access code line and MST for 2. And we get so much out of this. It's actually insane. It's really good. Even though we went through our entire extract that time because I banished for 6 for prosperity, we were winning that game for how much we played around stuff and how much momentum we've had. That's why this deck is super insane, and I feel like if you can afford it, pick it up. But next video, I'm 100% going to show the budget version of my deck. The deck I've been playing in paper for about a month and a half now, and I feel like is really, really good. So it's, I guess, about time to wrap things up. My name is Voss. I appreciate for everyone who stopped by and actually watched the whole thing. I really am just trying to do this as a VOD kind of setup to where I just talk about and geek out for an hour or two, just kind of getting my thoughts out there. Nothing really too serious on editing, not yet anyways, but without further ado, I guess we'll just end the video. And if you guys want more, we can make more. Have a good night, everybody.